call this meeting to order and ask you to stand with us for the national anthem.
We would like to acknowledge
that we are here today
on the traditional territory
of the Mississaugas of the New Credit First Nation.
Nous tenons à reconnaître que
nous sommes sur le territoire traditionnel
des Mississaugas de la Première Nation de New Credit.
Aren't we quiet tonight? Tired, quiet, whatever. Anyway, I think we do have the whole board here this evening, and we have Trustee Brad McDonald, who is joining us through streaming, and so I welcome all of those. I do have, actually that's not true, Trustee Singh is not here this evening, but I do have one addition, and that is 10.2, which is the increase in teaching assistant allocation. So that will be a report that we'll be dealing with tonight. Other than that, I know we have a special presentation before. Would someone move the approval of the agenda, please? Trustee Green, seconded by Trustee Crocker. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Before I move forward, I would like to congratulate all of my colleagues tonight on the Peel District School Board. I think it's a credit to the work that you do. I know it's not easy, but it seems easy once it's all over. And so in the election last night, each of our trustees were returned. And I, for one, am very pleased about that, because that ensures some stability and some experience on this board as we welcome 4 new trustees to the board come December the 1st. But I would like to congratulate everybody on a job well done. And I was talking to Trustee Cameron about how hard it is to campaign. But I'm a firm believer in you start your campaign today, and that you all are involved in your communities and your schools and helping people. And in fact, when it comes to campaign time, it's just a matter of reminding people about you, but that you've done your work for the last 4 years. So congratulations to everybody. Are there newly elected trustees in the audience tonight? Yes, very good. And you are William Davies, is that correct?
I am.
There you go. Congratulations. And what area are you representing?
I'm taking over for Suzanne Nurse.
Suzanne Nurse. Well, you better get your running shoes on there, Mr. Davies. But congratulations. This is quite an incredible role, and you will find very quickly, you will find the satisfaction that you're looking for by advocating and supporting public education. So I thank you for running, and congratulations on winning. And I know the board will have an opportunity to welcome our other 3 newly elected trustees. We will have orientation. You will be hearing from us very, very shortly about some orientation sessions, and we will bury you in paper very soon. So that's what we do. Anyway, so congratulations. That's all I have to say at the moment, except to welcome the Children's Aid Society and ask that our director, Adam Hughes, if you would come forward, Mr. Hughes, and tell us who you have this evening and what you're going to talk about.
Okay, so let's put this midway so we can both get at it. Okay. So good evening. So I am the Chief Information Officer for the Peel District School Board, and I have the distinct pleasure of representing our board on the Board of Directors with the Peel Children's Aid Society as their current treasurer. And I have with me my esteemed colleague, Juliet Jackson, who is the Director of Equity...
Culture and Inclusion at the Region of Peel.
and Inclusion at the Region of Peel.
And President of the Board.
And Presidente. She's the President of our board. So why are we here today? We're here today to keep children safe. Each year in October, Children's Aid Societies across Ontario work to raise awareness of child abuse prevention. So with that, Juliet?
Yes. So we thank you for the opportunity to be here again. This month is very important to us. We recognize that supporting children requires a village, and you are a really important part of that village. So today we want to make sure that everyone is aware that we are acknowledging and observing Child Abuse Prevention Month, and that more than 90% of our work is done with families in their homes. And what that means is, rather than being the stereotypical version of Children's Aid Society that go into homes and take children out of their homes, we want you to know that our focus truly is on uniting families, keeping them together. In fact, 80% of those we serve are not in care. Only 20% of our caseload is in care, and the rest is building capacity within families. So as mentioned, this month we're acknowledging and recognizing Child Abuse Prevention Month, and it's because we know that it takes a village to take care of a child. Hand over to Adam.
Thank you. Did you know we receive more than 13,500 calls about children who might need protection every year? We investigated over 8,500 reports of child abuse and neglect. Almost 20% of our referrals come from schools, so you guys are a really big part of the community. We have the lowest number of children in care per capita in the province, and that is something to be very, very proud of. Over to you.
So there's a massive provincial focus on working with school boards, but we've had really great success working with our school boards in Peel, and specifically with you. We've been working with your communications departments, and you've played a really big role in spreading the word that we need our community to help us to keep children safe by reporting when something is wrong. We've engaged with your teacher resources. They've created educators and engaged students in conversations about safety, as well as bringing the community together to help and to provide information about child abuse or risk of child abuse. Your role in supporting us has been really amazing. Your response to Dress Purple Day every year is unbelievable. The campaign that we've launched with hashtag #IBreakTheSilence and Peel Goes Purple, the role that you've played on Twitter in terms of making sure that the community is aware of this issue, and the role that they play in reporting any concerns related to children being at risk is truly critical. So with tomorrow being Dress Purple Day, we've provided all of you with shirts. Some of you are wearing them. And at this time, if it's okay, would we be able to get a photo up with you either wearing your shirt or just lifting it up on top of your clothing. Would that be possible?
Maybe in the front.
Sure. They would have been much more willing if it was before the election, but I'm sure they will let you do this.
I'm pretty sure last year that the hashtag was trending in Canada, so let's try to do that
Let's
again.
stand up so that we get the full effect, right? There we go.
Go, Rav.
Stay here?
Do you want us to come down here? Group it?
You want them to come down?
What do you think, Tracy? If you could, maybe we could have here.
See, you're overruled, Noka. We could squeeze together. Okay. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. No. You're not. Good, good. Okay. Sorry, Brad. Tomorrow. Yeah, sorry, Brad. You can stand up and pretend. How are we doing? Here.
Oh, that's good.
I'm totally.
You good? Okay.
Never met a camera I didn't like.
Yeah, but does
I thought he said Cameron. Why did you say Cameron?
First time we've done it.
I think that's my chair, Peter.
Yes.
Sorry, but I think it is.
So thank you very much. Another great example of your support. I just wanted to highlight a couple of ways that our organizations work together. And I'm just going to list a few of them. So there's the Crown Ward Education Championship Team. These are a provincially funded group that has a joint work plan to support educational outcomes for Crown Wards. Includes 5 school boards and the Children's Aid Societies from Halton, Dufferin, and Peel. And there's a youth council that advises the committee and plans youth events. We've got the Joint Protocol for Student Achievement. So this protocol provides individualized education plans for youth in care and in the communities who are at risk and involved with the CAS. There's 105 agreements that we've completed and 75 more have been initiated. We have a child abuse committee, that's membership of school boards on a child abuse committee. Community engagement, duty to report, so it's regular presentations to school boards around their duty to report and answering questions about our CAS intervention process and reporting child abuse and neglect. We also have educational liaison group. These are meetings to discuss partnerships between school boards and PLCAS related to investigations, duty to report, and working together jointly when providing service across sectors. I also wanted to point out that we have Rav Baines with us, our CEO, and we'd be happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming this evening. We really appreciate the partnership, I guess, that we have with the Children's Aid Society, and we know what an important role you play in supporting our children and their families. The thing that I learned a few years ago was that your job is to keep families together, not separate families. And I think if everybody understood that role a little better, we would, I think, all appreciate the service and the work that you do in our communities. I do have Trustee McDonald, if you'd like to
Thank
comment.
You. Through your chair. Yeah, I just have a quick question for you in terms of how do you get the message out to newcomers, especially with regards to that debunking the myth that, you know, the big bad monster is going to come in and take the kids away.
So what we've started to do is to create opportunities to work with specific communities. So right now we actually have 2 unique partnerships, one with the Black Community Action Network and another with, I forgot the name of the organization? Indus, focused on the Asian community. And what we want to do is begin to talk to them about what protection looks like, what keeping their children safe looks like, and how can we engage them in making this the most positive possible outcome as possible, and trying to debunk the myth that that we're not partners in this process. And I would say we're starting to get there. There's still a lot of work to do. But with your partnership and with the partners of other organizations, I believe that one of the things that sets us apart in Peel is the fact that we have such a low number of children in care, and that the majority of the children we're working with are actually still with their families. And that even though our numbers are high, the referral numbers are high, it actually represents early intervention. Versus getting there when it's too late. And I think that's also because the word is starting to get out.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Trustee Green.
Well, thank you. Just want to say thank you for coming forward with this tonight. And I, for one, basically, for the last, I think, maybe 2 years, my organization has been meeting with CAS and other groups and having this discussion. And I am very impressed and encouraged by the direction that I see CS is going, and I just want to say I look forward to continue this journey because I think the more we educate our community about this, because there's a myth, especially within the Black community, about when CS is called or how CS does their business. So I believe that this is a great opportunity for us to work together and ensure that we're educating the community so that they don't have that myth. So I look forward to, I know we have some meetings coming up, and I make sure I double check my calendar that they're in there so we can continue this work, because I believe that it's the right step in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you.
Trustee Williams?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Trustee Green alluded to part of my question. Anyways, as we all know, there are cultural differences in terms of how we discipline our children. And there are some culture would say, I will not spare the rod and spoil the child. How do we go about educating those parents?
Well, this is part of the work that we're starting with the BCAN, but in terms of the philosophy that our staff have, and Rav may need to come up and be more specific from an operational perspective, but the approach that our staff take, it's always a culturally sensitive approach, and it's always going in with understanding versus immediately going in thinking this person is guilty and therefore they are wrong, they are bad. So where there's an opportunity to educate, we take that opportunity. But most importantly, we're trying to make sure we understand some of those cultural differences so that we can begin to incorporate into our response.
Just give you
I don't know if that sort of gets to it. It's hard to say that the opinion is that's okay, but we're trying to separate the difference between what would we consider severe acts of abuse versus a misunderstanding or difference in cultural belief, and we're making sure that we're providing people with the appropriate education so that they can make informed decisions.
Okay, well, no, there are those who will say, I mean, the perception is that the Children's Aid is telling parents how to discipline their kids, and that's a perception that's out there. So educating these parents is very important.
Yes, so that is definitely a key component of our approach.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you very much for coming. We do appreciate it, and we'll look forward to working with you over the next year, for sure, and longer. But it's good work and important to everybody, so thank you.
Thank you, and congratulations to all of you who are
Thank
successful. And wishing those who are not going to be present during this term well in your next steps. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So are there any declarations of conflict of interest? Seeing none, if we could move to Section 3. 3.1 is the Special Education Advisory Committee of September 17th. 3.2 is the Instructional Program Curriculum Committee, September 26th. 3.3 is the Audit Committee, September 28th. 3.4 is the Physical Planning and Building Committee, October 2nd. And 3.5 is the regular meeting of the Board, October 9th. They are here for receipt and approval. Are there any comments or questions with regard to anything in the minutes package? Seeing none, then Trustee Andrews, you put them on the floor, please. Seconded by Trustee Lawton. All those in favor? Carried. We will move to written questions, notices of motion, or petitions. And I see none, but I know that you'll allow me to enter a petition. This petition is from the parents at Fairview Public School, and basically it's with regard to portable use. They are objecting to having their grade 2-3 class in a portable and would like to be moved inside the school. And so I know that the principal and superintendent have worked with them, but they did present me with this petition that has, I can't tell you how many because I didn't count them, but significant number of signatures. So I will hand that in and hope for a response at our next board meeting. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. So we are on section 6, which is the 6.1 is the retirement section, moved by Trustee Nurse, seconded by Trustee DeCroop. Any questions or comments? All those, wait a minute. Trustee McDonald.
Thank you. Through your chair, I just wanted to publicly say that I noticed that Karen Hobbins was retiring, and I think it's going to be a huge loss to our board, and she taught me so much, and I wish I could bottle her enthusiasm and just passion for kids. It's just unbelievable. So I just wanted to publicly share that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? All those in favor of section 6? Carried. Recommendations, 9.1, sorry. Wait a minute, can't go that fast. 7.1 is our delegations, and can I welcome Leslie Novak, who is here this evening? There you are. If you come to the podium, please. No problem. We're not that scary.
You're not. I'm petrified.
No. Please don't be.
I am.
These people are so tired from walking that really they're pussycats.
Awesome.
And so you're here to talk to us about student transportation.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
So, I said I'm really nervous, and I am. I'm petrified. I talk about aquatic toxicology and science all day long, and I am so out of my comfort zone right now. So I apologize ahead of time if I stumble my way through this. I appreciate your patience. And what this is something that began as completely personal and selfish, actually. I was trying to get my daughter on a bus from home to school and back. We've lived in Bolton for over 12 years, and I haven't needed busing until now, grade 6. She's attending Allen Drive Middle School. According to StopR, we're 1.93 kilometers away from Allen Drive, which is 0.07 kilometers shy of the 2-kilometer limit for busing. And I'm pretty sure you've all had a parent at some point call you or talk to you about this in the past. I requested a courtesy seat from the school, and I was subsequently informed that there were no extra spaces on the bus due to consolidation of routes by StopR. When I contacted StopR, I was informed their approach was to take all means and measures possible to consolidate routes and busing, leaving no courtesy seats. There was nothing they could do, and they redirected me to the school. I contacted Mr. Wills, VP at Allen Drive, who indicated he would investigate and try to help. And I will mention here that Mr. Wills and Mr. Cameron, congratulations, have been incredibly patient and helpful walking me through this process. At this point, I could not understand how anyone can think it's acceptable for a 10-year-old to walk home 30 minutes in the middle of winter. And I would ask you to think of your own kids, your own grandchildren, brothers and sisters, when you were little. This wasn't just a one-time event. It's 5 days a week for several months in cold, snowy weather, carrying or pulling a backpack that weighs as much as they do. And again, at this point, it's still personal. The eligibility limit and adherence to the 2-kilometer limit made no sense for Caledon, for Bolton, an area with no public transportation And yet the same rules applied as if we lived in Mississauga or Brampton, cities with access to public transportation as an option. Several days later, after calls and emails that essentially all indicated there were no courtesy seats available, my child was assigned a courtesy seat on a bus route at Deer Valley, or a bus stop at Deer Valley and Station Road. We tried to walk to the stop, only to find out the bus stop is not safely accessible. The only sidewalk to this location is closed. I contacted Stop Bar and requested a different stop, as the one assigned was not accessible. Initially, I was happy because I was informed there was a closer location, but then later told that it wasn't available. It was in the same call, just by a couple of different people. I asked why it was unavailable and asked to know the location of this closer stop so I could then potentially get on it at another time, should someone leave the community. Stop Bar indicated they would not tell me where it was or why it was unavailable, just that it was unavailable. I didn't need to know anything more than that, and that there was nothing that they or I could do. Mr. Wills, patient guy, agreed to meet with me again to actually try to determine if this apparently closer stop did exist. The short answer was there probably was, but not this year, because of consolidation of bus routes. And I understand that the consolidation of routes and stops is new for this school year, 2018-19. And for me, this raised more questions. And this is where it became more than a completely selfish, personal issue. During this process of trying to gain some understanding on how the rules were set, what the rationale was, and what, if anything, could be done to change them, I was given various responses and replies. And this was told, the same story was told to me, the same reasons were told by multiple people. This isn't just from one person. Brampton and Mississauga have public buses, but many parents would not let their children ride the public bus system in Brampton or Mississauga. The distance limits have been set this way forever, and they are not changing. It's been this way for years. I had to deal with this many years ago when my kids were little, and I'm old, but these two people were older than me, so their kids are probably in their 20s. It's been this way for a long time. I was told that the people at Stop Bar have a very hard job, and we need to be more understanding. From a Stop Bar customer service rep, I have neighbors on each side of me. One gets to take the bus and the other doesn't. It's so unfair. But sorry, it's just the way it is. You have to live with it. Other school boards don't offer courtesy seats. You should be happy, Ms. Novak, that Peel does. That was told to me by a Stop Bar manager. The system isn't telling me how my child gets to school, just that they don't qualify for a bus. So I fully understand what the system is telling me. It's the system that I take issue with. I operate one of the largest ecotoxicity testing labs in Canada. It's a small business, but it's not for the faint of heart. My job is really hard. I don't get to tell my clients that my job is hard. And I'm essentially your client. My family doesn't live in Mississauga or Brampton. We live in Bolton, and public transportation, whether it's good or bad or ugly or amazing, it's not even an option for me. And it is completely false that other boards don't offer courtesy seats. Just look on the websites of Halton, Hamilton, Toronto. They offer courtesy empty seat applications and options. So at this point, I think most parents give up and move on, and maybe I should have, because I can't quite believe I'm here going through this process today. But if no one questions the status quo, then nothing is ever going to change, so I'm questioning. I recognize that the Education Act does not explicitly set eligibility distance limits for transportation. They're set indirectly, and I realize that Peel's limits are much better than what's in the Education Act. The Peel District School Board eligibility limits are generally above, though, the median distances that were cited in the 2015 Auditor General's report on transportation. But given all that, my questions are, how long have the current Peel transportation distance eligibility limits been in place? What was the specific supporting rationale for each of the limits used by the Peel District School Board? How often are they reviewed? And by whom? What is discussed and what documentation is available to the public? And if they're not reviewed, well, why not? Why does it appear on the Stop Power website and on the Peel transportation policies that there's some recognition of lower eligibility distances for communities not serviced by public transit, but only for grades 9 to 12? And even this isn't clear. Is it for a public board, Catholic board, or both? It's not clear from the policy. And if policies for transportation includes two boards trying to stay consistent with each other, then what's the reason for the difference between the Catholic and the school board? Why are lower eligibility distances not included for lower grades when public transportation is not an option? What's the rationale for excluding younger riders that would likely benefit more than those in older grades? So I'm specifically requesting that lower eligibility distances be considered for both public and Catholic grades 2 to 8 in areas where public transportation is not available. From a financial standpoint, and this was tricky for me to read through the report, good on you guys for going through, it's hundreds of pages. But based on, from what I could tell, I think it's May-June 2018 Director's Report, page 241, it appears that there was a budget increase for 2018 and 19 at an estimated $5 million for fees and contractual services. If there's a budget increase, why is there a service reduction in Bolton and consolidation of stops? What are the estimated cost savings from stops consolidation in 2018 and 19, and where will the savings from that consolidation go? And a little bit more specific to Bolton, why was busing consolidated this year? Reduced enrollment? Insufficient drivers? Was there a new service provider and the lowest bid was selected, such that service has had to be reduced in order to meet their budgets? Or was there another reason? It's not clear. Was the reduction in the number of stops proportional to the reduction in enrollment numbers or available drivers or other reason? I don't know. How many stops were there last year in Bolton? How many stops are there this year? And were the corresponding enrollment numbers in Bolton for those years, or what were they for those years? What was the rationale for keeping a stop? What was the rationale for eliminating a stop? Who was involved in the decision making? Were parents consulted? Or even given the opportunity to provide some input? And finally, how was the change clearly and transparently communicated to parents? I'm almost done. Be happy. So do I expect change to the system? I'm not that naive. I think systems are set up and managed so that they won't change. It's set so that most people will give up in frustration. However, I believe my questions are logical, they're rational, and I'm certain I'm not the only one in Bolton and Caledon community asking these questions. And maybe the answers are readily available somewhere, but I don't think it should be this difficult to get rational answers to these questions. The mentality of this is just the way we've always done it should be the most dangerous words in your vocabulary. A one-size-fits-all doesn't always work. And I sincerely hope that you will reconsider how limits are set and reviewed, taking into consideration or into account the lack of public transportation in Bolton Caledon. And I hope you reconsider consolidation and reductions of stops in my community. And I thank you for your time and for your attention.
Thank you very much. Just don't go anywhere.
Okay.
I would ask you if we don't already have a copy of your presentation and all of those questions.
I did give a copy to
I would
Jen.
ask you to give a copy over here because we want to be able to answer as many of those questions as accurately as possible. You've asked a lot of questions, and generally speaking, we strive to answer the delegations at the next board meeting, and I can assure you that we'll try. I don't know the kind of work that's involved in some of those questions. Some are easy to answer. And from my perspective, I would tell you that some of your assumptions are incorrect. but the response will point those out to you. But I don't know if we'll be able to do it in the next 2 weeks, but can I commit that we will contact you to let you know if this is going to appear on the next board meeting agenda, or if indeed our staff need more time to answer those questions, and then it'll appear on the last meeting in November.
That would be fantastic.
Okay. Are there any other questions of clarification from trustees? Seeing none, it appears you were very clear. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. And so then, can we move on to 9, Section 9, new business, 9.1 of the recommendations of the Special Education Advisory Committee, September 17th. It's here for information for receipt. Trustee Lawton, you'll put that on the floor, seconded by Trustee Williams. Any comments? All those in favor? Carried. 9.2 is the recommendation of the Instructional Program Curriculum Committee. It is as well information for receipt. Brain freeze. Who yeah, Carrie. Yeah, Trustee Andrews, you want to put that on the floor, seconded by Trustee DeKroob. All those in favor? Carried. 9.3 is the recommendations of the Audit Committee, and again, it's information for receipt. Trustee Lawton, you'll put that on the floor. Thank you. Seconded by Trustee Green. Questions? All those in favor? Carried. 9.4, the recommendations of Physical Planning and Building Committee of October 2nd. Again, information for receipt. Trustee Green, you put those on the floor. Thank you. Seconded by Trustee Crocker. Questions? All those in favor? Carried. 9.6 is the notice of changes to the Peel District School Board bylaws. They are here for receipt. They have been walked through by the Trustee Review Committee, and you will notice that the changes are basically all housekeeping, bring us up to date on some of the practice, so it's just a matter of wording. And so, who does that? Trustee Andrews, you want to put these on the floor? Yes. Thank you. Seconded by Trustee K. McDonald. Are there any questions or comments? Trustee DeKroob.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question and a comment, I guess. So at G7 and G8, which talks about, I mean, we just witnessed one of the delegations.
Can you speak up just a little bit, please?
You can't hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yes, better.
Okay, thank you. G7 and G8, they talk about after the delegations have been heard and what happens after that. And normally, yes, this describes it pretty well, which talks about how we would prepare a response. And it also talks about sometimes there will be delegations where the board or committee could respond at the same meeting. But then it talks about, if so, the chair shall alert the administration of the possibility or immediate action and request it. None of this talks at all about the possibility for arising, like, a motion to come out of a delegation. And I think that's important, just for transparency's sake. Like, you know, if somebody came to delegate about something and they said, I want Fridays to be pizza day. Right. And Stan thought that's a good idea, and he wants to make it happen. Sorry, Trustee Cameron. And he can put a motion on the floor, right then and there. Whether we vote on it or not, that's a whole different story. But that can happen. And I think for transparency purposes and for the understanding of the board, and especially with the new board, outgoing chair, outgoing vice chair, all those things are unfolding before us in the next 2 months. Maybe we could word it a little bit differently to kind of include that in there. I know it doesn't happen a lot, but it has happened and it can happen. And I think it's important.
No, I understand what you're saying. In my experience, and I'm not saying it's not legit, but in my experience, I've never had a motion come out of a delegation. I've asked for, or the board has asked for immediate response because it is time sensitive. But I've never, I mean, I have had, we have had motions that come out of business arising. That is true.
We've had motions out of
That is true.
delegations.
To my experience, I don't believe so, but let's not argue with that. I understand that delegations, business arising is the same idea. I'm not prepared to
Do you
make
remember
a,
the
I'm
pride
not,
flag issue? That was what.
not out of delegations, though.
It was going to happen out of a delegation.
Okay. I'm not going to argue this.
Okay.
What I am going to say is I'm not prepared to rule on your request at this meeting. I think it needs some thought and some proper language, etc.
Sure.
So what I would like, if the board would agree, is that we approve this because you're agreeing to all of this except you want to add.
Yeah.
And so I would ask that we agree to this because it's been through trustee review, and then we put G7 or G8 on a trustee review agenda with the intent of discussing the addition, which basically talks about, really you're referring to business arising.
Yeah, but just to
Really?
link it to
Yeah,
delegations.
to delegations.
Yeah.
I understand. I understand.
Perfect.
Okay, would you agree to that?
I agree.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any comments with regard to 9.6? All those in favor? Carried. 9.6. 10.1 is the Peel District School Board graduation rates for 2016-2017. I don't know, I just got through signing Ontario Scholar letters. Like, really, our kids are way too successful because it took hours to sign all of these, hundreds of, and that was just 3 schools. So I'm hoping that this is a good news report. If I could ask, is Associate Director Graywell, would you, oh no, it is Anthony, there we are. Superintendent Edwards, would you like to introduce the report to us, please?
Thank you, through you, Chair. This report is really a supplemental report to the graduation report that was submitted in June to the board. At that time, the province, in an unusual practice, did not have its graduation rates ready for public disclosure. And we have since received the province's calculations of their graduation rates. And while they fell 1% across the province from 87% to 86%, I'm happy to say that Peel held at 88%. So it's just a small change, but it would suggest that we continue to perform admirably and in a direct comparison of how the province calculates graduation rates. So it is a good news report, and I look forward to continued success for the board.
Thank you, and I agree. One indicator of student success, but I guess probably one of the most important ones, because isn't that what we're all aiming for, is graduation for our students. Trustee Nurse, you put this on the floor for me? Thank you. Trustee Williams, will you second it, please? Any questions or comments? Trustee Cameron.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you, this is a common question from me at this time of year when we look at this report. Would we know how many of our students who didn't graduate, so the 6, 12, or 14%, depending on which line you're looking at, did not graduate because they did not complete their 40 hours of volunteer work, meaning that was the only thing that they didn't complete, therefore they're not in this number anywhere?
Thank you for the question. Through you, Chair. You did ask a similar question in June, and that information is being processed. So I will have a report for you as soon as our research department is able to tabulate that data for us, I will have that answer, but it has been recorded and noted, and the work is being done.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. 10.2 is the increase in teaching assistant allocation. So I would ask Superintendent Moynihan if you would introduce this to us, please.
Thank you. Thank you, through you, Chair. We appreciate the opportunity to share this information and put forward this recommendation for your consideration. To provide the context, there was an allocation of special needs teaching assistants representing an increase of 27 from the previous year. Through this process, we followed the two-part process that is our custom, where we allocated teaching assistants out in June, and then we reviewed that process from August to September. Since July 1st, we have received an additional 254 requests for teaching assistant support. And we had 29.5 teaching assistants that were held back in June, and we allocated those out. However, we still have significant and urgent need to support students with special education needs. Although the TA study has provided some important and critical impacts for our system, we've really focused on phase one, and that's been the implementation of resources for teachers. This year in phase two, we're really going to take a more detailed look at the allocation process. In terms of budget implications, the Ontario Human Rights Commission recent policy on accessible education for students with disabilities makes it very clear that the board is to look to its overall or global budget to accommodate students with special education needs. And as a result of a variety of factors, it's our recommendation that 50 long-term occasional special needs teaching assistants be added. And this allocation will enable the board to support the most urgent student needs in our schools. It's recommended that the board use in-year surplus funds to allocate these special needs teaching assistants to support priority 1 students in regular classrooms. So each long-term occasional special needs teaching assistant position costs the board approximately $53,000. Therefore, the total cost for 50 TAs would be approximately $2.65 million. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Trustee Cameron, you'd like to put this on the floor? I would. Thank you. Seconded by Trustee Green. Yes. Great. Are there any comments or questions with regard to this? Trustee Green?
Yes, Madam Chair, I just want to say thank you for the report, and I support this wholeheartedly because I think this is really needed in our system at this time. Recently, I was out in schools and even actually first-hand witness the needs for more TA, and even to the point where that I am even concerned because there's some special needs students, and when they act out, they could get a little bit violent, and sometimes, having one person dealing with 3, 4, 5 of these kids, I find it's an unsafe situation. So I think this able to allocate this and put this in our system is really needed, and I wish that we could do more. But thank you for the report, and I'll support this wholeheartedly. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Cameron.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And through you, I'm going to say the same thing. Thank you for bringing this report forward. Superintendent Moynihan, it is thorough, it is clear, and I deeply appreciate how you've moved this so quickly from just recently having a phone call from you and from Associate Director Graywell with an attempt to explain in layman's terms, which I appreciated, the relatively new Ontario Human Rights Commission's policy on accessible education for students with disabilities and what that means in a broader picture around what our requirement will be to provide accommodation for. And this is much needed. I know in all 3 of our municipalities we are in need, and it's almost like we've said this before, that, Madam Chair, that there'll never be enough TAs, right? I've heard this for a number of years, and I feel like at this time of year, that's true. But we are always playing catch-up, it appears. However, catch-up is better than an answer no, and I really appreciate, on behalf of all of the children and families who need this extra help, thank you.
Great. It has been moved and seconded. Any other comments? Oh, that's right. Thank you, Janice. So this is a budget item, and so according to our bylaws, it is a recorded vote. So all those in favor of the recommendation, please stand. Brad is standing. Not anymore. He was standing.
Are you the lone one standing?
Yes, they were standing. So that's unanimous, and I think that speaks volumes about the support that this board has for our students who require special attention. So thank you very much. Carried. Okay. Where am I? No. 12.1 and 12.2 are OPSBA Connects October 9th and 15th. They're here for a receipt. Moved by Trustee K. McDonald, seconded by Trustee DeCrube. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Are there any reports from trustee representatives on councils or associations? Trustee Green, you were supposed to be out campaigning, not going to other organizations.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want my colleagues to know that a emergency conference meeting is called by the Ontario School Board Association for tomorrow from 12 to 1. There's no agenda. I won't get the agenda till in the morning. But if it's there anything that is relevant and important, I will bring the board up to date. Thank you.
Thank you. Any others? Great. Then I will go to question period. Pardon me? Oh, I'm sorry. Trustee Williams, I didn't see that.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I happened to attend the meeting up in Brampton the other day, and it's one of those boards that we actually align with. And what they do, they provide placement for students who would want to get their 40 hours volunteer as volunteer in BC. Mm-hmm. So that's one source that schools can draw from, our students can draw from. So I just want the board to know that that service is available.
Okay, and I think our schools are aware of that. I'm sure that that's in our guidance departments.
Yeah, so there shouldn't be much of an excuse for students not to get their 40 hours in.
No, I agree. It's unfortunate sometimes that it happens. Okay, I see none others. Then I'm going to start over with Trustee Crocker. Question? Comment. Trustee K. McDonald, question, comment.
I have a couple of comments. In the last couple of weeks on the campaign trail, I got surprisingly a lot of questions about the cash online system.
Yeah.
And apparently like how the message is being related to parents and school councils. So I guess, do we have, like I know we have at the beginning of the year, I guess a directive given to staff. So with regards to cash online, are the administration told, or are they aware that the cash online thing is optional?
Oh, I think we've had this conversation before, and I think we do make it clear, but Ms. Alatish, Charles.
Through you,
Charles,
Chair.
okay.
Through you, Chair. So, yes, we always make it clear to administrators that school cash online is the preferred method of payment, but it's not the only method of payment. And when finance staff visit the schools, we review the letters, and if we see the wording that makes it mandatory, we do ask them to change it.
Okay, thank you. Because as of Thursday, a letter was generated saying it's mandatory. So then you just bring it to your attention to say, okay, thank you. But that being said, I just really want to say a big thank you to all my family and friends and Ward 3 family. I was really humbled by their support at the election. It was, I think I'm about at least 15 pounds lighter. And, you know, I really want to just reaffirm my commitment to ensuring that all kids have high expectations for them and are the best that they can be. So I was really honored too that, you know, it was clear that people, it's important to sort of go through all the smoke screens and look at issues, and it was, I'm just proud and happy that I'm here back again for another 4 years. So thank you.
Trustee Williams, question or comment? Trustee Green.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Got two comments, if you will indulge me. The first one is, just like my colleague, Trustee McDonald, I want to really say thank you to the people of Brampton, Ward 1 and 5. You have spoken volume, and it is shown that my community speaks and no one else. And I'm not controlled by anyone. My community makes a decision, and whether I sit here or not. But I want to thank God for favoring me. And I want to thank those teachers who came out and support me, in spite of people had a gender to racial profile me, and to the point where they were willing to violate board policy. However, I want to thank those who were brave enough to support me, because they know the work that I do in the community and how I support my community, support my school, and how I support each and every one that I work with within this board and with any school that I represent. And secondly, I want to, as the co-chair for the We Rise program, I want to talk about this issue with Rosie from the Global Mail attacking, or from the Toronto Star, attacking one of our most distinguished racialized leader in this board. And I am mad to see the attack that is on this individual who have no clue about the work that has been done and the support that Associate Director Graywall has given to the Re-Rise program. And we, as trustees and a board and staff, when students speak, and if students said, this hurt us, this is causing injury to me, we need to listen and we need to hear them, because we have a duty as a board to ensure that every student feels safe in the environment that they are in, so that they can learn and they can feel inclusive. And for someone to attack someone, this is blatant racism, and it needs to stop. It needs to stop, and and as co-chair, and I know Director Joshua, along with myself and the other co-chair of the We Rise Committee, we will be responding, because we're not going to take this laying down. No one should have to go through this. And I stand behind our Associate Director and the support that she has given, and stand up. And every time that our student, I've seen students came to this board, Madam Chair, over and over and talk about the safety and how they need to feel safe. And this board moved to support those students. And why is it that when black students said, I need to feel safe, and something hurt me, that there has to be an attack on somebody? It's time enough, it's stopped. And it needs to stop, and somebody needs to speak out. They tried to shut me up the last time, but guess what? It's my freedom of right to open and speak my mind. And it's my democratic right, freedom of right. And I need, as a black person, and seeing what happened to my black student, until somebody live in my shoes, okay, this needs to stop. This is racism. And they shouldn't attack her like that. And we will be responding as a co-chair for Rewise. Thank you.
So there. Trustee B. McDonald, question or comment? No. Okay, thank you. Trustee Sharkian? No. Trustee Oris Nednova? No. Trustee DeCroop? Oh, yes, of course. Okay. There you go.
I'll make a comment. I just want to say well, I'm happy to return here today. I was going to come here anyway, but I'm happy with the results of the election. I want to thank my community for, giving me a pretty strong indication that they're happy with the work that I'm doing. And I want to congratulate all of my colleagues who ran in this election and got reelected by their communities and are here today after a very long time of working yesterday and the day before and the day before and the day before. So that brings me to my question or my comment. The next time that we are setting the dates for board meetings, could we not have one the day after an election?
Could we not
Yes.
have one? Well, I could answer you, but I don't think that would make a hill of beans a difference. But you hold that thought, because I am sure you'll have an opportunity to ask that question again at some point.
In about 3.5 years. Thank you so much, and congrats again.
Trustee Andrews, question or comment? Trustee Lawton.
I'd just like to thank all of the candidates who ran in the election, all 154 of us. I know that I would say 99% of those candidates worked very hard, just as we did. And I don't think that people step up if they don't have a reason to. And I'm hoping that we can reach out to some of those candidates and find out if there's something that, for us, that we can learn from them. And my second comment is I'm really looking forward to celebrating the Peel Teaching Assistant and Early Childhood Educators Appreciation Day tomorrow with their dinner in the evening. So thank you very much for all you do, and see you tomorrow.
It's good, and we bring you good news. So there you are. Trustee Cameron. Yeah, maybe we'll get more dessert if we... Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd just like to remind the board that a week ago yesterday, so on the 15th of October, this board opened its 257th school, named Tony Pontes Public School. The school had been operating already for a couple of years, but in countryside. And,
Yes.
Oh, no. That's
That's two.
In another school. And,
Countryside,
a name
I
that
believe
I've
you
forgotten.
said.
And so the opening, not a grand opening, but the first day in their new building,
Right.
The school organized a mini cut the ribbon with Mr. Pontes himself in attendance, and lots of people were there. Superintendent Uniacke, Superintendent Logue, and we had cookies and tea, and Associate Director Gill. Who else, Peter?
That's it,
yes.
sir.
Sorry, Jaspel. Yes, and we had we just got a notice, an email from the principal, Cheryl Johnston, to say that today they are at 403 students enrolled at a school that has, Mr. Wright, 650 pupil places. So we are marching along. It's really been a very successful startup, and we're so excited for the children and the teachers and the TAs and the ECEs and the DECs, and it's just everybody who's working together to make this a wonderful experience. Thank you.
Great. You owe us $2.
Four? You missed 2 schools, $2 each, isn't it?
No, it's a dollar. It's $1.
Doubling it on
It's $1. Well, you did get a raise, though, Trustee Cameron. You did get a raise. So, anyway, Vice Chair Nurse, do you have a question or comment? Are there any questions or comments from the public? Yes, sir. Should be on. Try again, Philip.
Thanks, Chair.
There you go. If you introduce yourself, please.
Sure. My name is Felipe Pareja. I'm one of the vice presidents with the Peel Teacher Local of UTFO. Trustee Green, I'm going to... Which is exactly what I'm about to do.
Okay.
And so if I'm about to ask a question, is that not allowed?
You can. You have to direct it to me. But
I will do that
yes.
through you then, Madam Chair. I have to... and they say that you should speak truth to power even when your voice is shaking, and so that is exactly what I'm going to do. There is no way that the Peel Teacher Local or any of the other unions that were involved in the process that we undertook, historic work, by the way, in this board, that we are prepared to own an accusation, an inflammatory accusation of racial profiling or discrimination on any other prohibited grounds under the Ontario Human Rights Code. And I would ask that that be contextualized, that if that is an accusation, an inflammatory accusation, that the trustee-elect is prepared to make here in a very public way, that he substantiate that with some context. To do otherwise is incredibly irresponsible. I'll leave it at that.
I thank you for that comment, or I guess it's a question, but we heard you, and we'll take that into consideration. Thank you. Are there any other questions from the public? Yes, Mrs. Soplet. Welcome, and I did congratulate you earlier for putting your name forward and for your constant interest and support of public education.
Thank you very much, and through you, Chair.
There you go, I think.
Yep. So on October 17, during question period at the Ontario Legislature, the Minister of Education responded to the education critic concerning, sorry, I have to take my glasses off, concerning the release of parent engagement funding. The minister said that the government was pausing release of parent engagement funding until further notice. What steps will Peel District School Board take to formally communicate to the Ministry of Education about the positive impact and beneficial experience arising from project-based learning funded by parent engagement grants? If a formal communication is yet to be released, can the Peel District School Board please encourage the government to release the funding as soon as possible, with the suggestion that affordable parent enrichment that leads to vibrant schools and safer neighborhoods is what business finds attractive when it wants to open its doors?
I think you make a good point, and with all of the election and other kerfuffles, we haven't had an opportunity to comment on that or discuss the fact that the province has paused the POR. I think that's just a nice way for saying that they've gotten rid of it. But if you'll give us the opportunity next board meeting, I'll make sure that the board discusses it, and I think a letter is in order. Thank you for reminding us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. They did? Wow. Wow. So, Vice Chair Nurse tells me that they just nixed or scrapped Brampton University. Pardon me? Ryerson. Oh, yeah, Ryerson campus. Wow. Well, what can we say? We knew. Come on, we knew that it was probably a soft start for Mr. Ford, but I think it's going to be a bit of a rough ride. And so I remind the board when I think about it. Pardon? Yeah. Yeah. Well, I remind the board to do not forget I know I'm making all these edicts. I feel like I'm lecturing, but do not forget the power of our parents. You know, when we fail to get the attention of our government, from my experience, we never fail when our parents mobilize together for an excellent cause and get to their MPPs and the Ministry of Education. So as that happens, please, board, remember, never underestimate the power of people. We've seen it change many, many things. Any other? Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I didn't see your hand up. Please come to the podium.
Happy news, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Anthea D'Souza. I'm a supply teacher. Two things that I wanted to mention. Number one, the lack of transparency with which we have the new system, Easy Connect. A lot of teachers, a lot of supply teachers like myself are very frustrated with it. Number two, payroll. Multiple times we've had days missing from our payroll, like maybe thrice or 4 times. And sometimes you need the money. So it's just a big issue for sometimes. So I just wanted to mention those two things.
Thank you. I appreciate you coming forward with those concerns. And if you can leave us your name and some contact information, I'll make sure that Human Resources gets in touch with you, and you can further discuss the issues.
Yeah, that was the other thing too. It's just really hard. A lot of supply teachers were talking about that. It's just really hard to get through to payroll and get any response. So yeah.
Okay, so we can facilitate that.
Yeah,
if you'll
okay.
give us your contact information, we'll make sure that someone gets in touch with you and you can discuss more fully.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Any others? Seeing none, would someone move adoption of the in-committee report? Trustee Nurse, seconded by Trustee Williams. All those in favor? And one more adjournment. Trustee K. McDonald, seconded by Trustee Cameron. All those in favor? Carried.